Hello everyone and welcome to YouTube lecture number 7. No music to start this one because I keep getting in trouble with that. This one's on Andrew Jackson and the Nullification Crisis. Now it's going to be a short one because I only want to talk to you about this one particular aspect of Jackson's administration. So let's get right into it. You can see here this is key concept 4.1, Roman numeral 1, letter C. Now we've talked about this one quite a few times now. Focusing in on the rise of the Democratic Party under Andrew Jackson and the Whigs of Henry Clay. But they're fighting over a lot of different issues going on in the government, and this one specifically is about tariffs. And yet again, remember, tariffs, taxes on imported goods, trying to protect the American industry from Europe, especially England, flooding our market with cheap-made products, and protecting the new industries that are emerging here in the United States. But Southerners do not like tariffs. Remember, they sell a product that is sold in an unprotected world. Whenever you raise your tariffs, other nations will raise their tariffs. These are what we call barriers to trade. And if you're selling your cotton, and all of a sudden you wind up losing profit because tariffs are going up everywhere. In turn, the South does not industrialize, so any product that they would like to have, and you're going to want to have some goods and services, it's all produced in the North, and so prices are going up because taxes are going up. So they feel like they're getting it on both ends, and it's attacking their profit, but it's especially an attack, they feel, on slavery and the institution of slavery. What happens is the election of 1828 is rolling around. In my last video, I talked about that. That's the one where Jackson finally wins. But just in case, pro-Jackson members of Congress decided to try to put something on John Quincy Adams to make him look bad by raising the Tariff of 1828. Problem is that it passed, and by the time it went into effect, Andrew Jackson will inherit this very high tariff, or as the South comes to call it, the Tariff of Abomination. Andrew Jackson's vice president is John C. Calhoun. Now, Calhoun is from South Carolina, and he's a strong states' rights supporter. He used to be a nationalist, but he switched sides. He's now all about states' rights and protecting the institution of slavery. And as Vice President of the United States, he will secretively write a pamphlet entitled South Carolina Exposition, talking about the states were sovereign before the Constitution. You might remember this. It might sound familiar to you because this is harking back to Thomas Jefferson's Virginia Resolution back in 1796, 1797, attacking John Adams and his Alien and Sedition Acts, stating that a state has a right to nullify federal law. Well, John C. Calhoun dusts off that old compact theory of Jefferson, and he puts it back into play. Now he's attacking specifically the high tariffs, but he goes a step further in the South Carolina Exposition. Not only does a state, in this case South Carolina, have a right to nullify federal law, but if push comes to shove, they will secede from the Union. They will leave the Union. This begins the Nullification Crisis from 1828 to 1833. This extremely tense time in American history. It's going to last a period here of about 5 years almost, and it is bringing America very close to the brink of civil war. In Congress, Jackson basically stayed out of it for a little while. He was trying to hope that Congress would settle the matter. You do have the famous Webster Debates take place between January 19th and January 27th of 1830. Webster in favor of the tariff and in favor of union, while Hayne from the South is in favor of nullification and disunion. And these are very famous debates that take place. I'll speak about them in class a little bit tomorrow. And Webster wins these debates. He is, next to Henry Clay, Daniel Webster, perhaps the second best debater in all of American history. Of course, that's my opinion, and that and a nickel can get you a cup of coffee. But there is a lot of tension now. John C. Calhoun realizes that Andrew Jackson is not going to be on his side and is starting to become afraid of Andrew Jackson, what this crazy man might do. He might even burst into his room in the middle of the night and try to shoot him. I mean, he's only the Vice President of the United States, but once Jackson realizes that's Calhoun who wrote this, that's not going to go good for Calhoun. And there's this really tense moment in Washington, D.C. April 13th, 1830 is the anniversary, or actually the birth date of Thomas Jefferson. They're celebrating it now like a national holiday. And they've rented out a hotel. And again, we'll go over this in class a little bit more tomorrow. And it's a famous toast moment where Jackson knows it's all these Democrats there who are basically using it, as he says, as a nullification affair altogether. He's invited to go. He's not sure if he'll go, but he and his close advisor sit down and they write a very special toast. Because he knows, and it is, the entire party, it's a toast after toast to states' rights, to the right to nullify federal law, down with John Adams and Alien Sedition Acts, hooray Jefferson for standing up to him. It's a toast after toast after toast. And I won't tell you what Jackson actually says. I'll let that be a little bit of a cliffhanger there for you. And we'll talk about it in class. But it's a very famous moment where Jackson tries to verbalize his idea of a solid union as opposed to states' rights. And then John C. Calhoun has his own toast in retaliation. In 1832, the Palmetto State, that's South Carolina. They call themselves the Palmetto State. They start having elections there, and they start to vote on the idea of not only nullification, but perhaps actual secession. Jackson starts to raise a small army and a small navy, and he begins to threaten actual invasion of South Carolina. Well, the guy that actually comes in and saves the day is Henry Clay. Henry Clay doesn't want Jackson to win, and he doesn't want John C. Calhoun to win. So being the great compromiser, we get a compromise tariff of 1833. They will gradually begin to lower the rates of the tariff of this very high... Whoops, look what I just did. I just hit the back button, and I don't have time to go back. They'll gradually lower the rates of this tariff over a period of several years to eventually get it to the rate of 1816. But I think it's 10 years. They're going to lower the rate gradually year after year and eventually get it back to the rates of the tariff rate of 1816. South Carolina agrees to this. Of course, the federal government agrees to this. Henry Clay wins the day, but not before Jackson gets Congress to pass a force bill that would authorize the President of the United States to use force if any state tried to nullify federal law, giving him the right to invade a state. I can't imagine that today going on, giving the president the right to attack a state, but this was pretty important for Jackson. Again, remember we talked about this in class. These are men of honor, these Southerners. All right, they see everything as an attack on their honor. John C. Calhoun is a man of honor. Andrew Jackson is a man of honor. And part of the reason why this became such a tense situation was that neither of them wanted to really back down. And it came to Henry Clay to compromise. Now, remember, honor is so important. Oh, what? John, what? Oh, man. All right, yeah, John C. Calhoun wanted to get his last little raspberry in there. All right, I know you don't like Andrew Jackson. You think you won. You really didn't. But okay, John, you can keep this one. But remember, here was a situation we talked about in class. You've got a congressman, Thomas Gilmer, who helped get William Rives elected to the Senate, thinking that the two men shared the same opinion on nullification, that they were for it. And turns out Rives was actually for the federal government, and he was for the tariff. And it led to a very bizarre situation or event where Gilmer pulls the nose of Rives in public. thereby unmasking him and shaming him for doing what he did. This is how tense things are getting. We're getting down to nose pulling, ladies and gentlemen. All right, well, that's it for that. And we'll discuss this more in depth in class, but you need to take some notes on this. Make sure you go back to the slide and see what I have there about the South Carolina exposition and some of the things I said, because you're going to actually answer this stuff in class tomorrow. There are no video logs, so you don't have to go on Edmodo for this. There are no video logs, but have some notes ready so you can answer some questions in class tomorrow. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.